Hello again. We are here at the European Geothermal Congress in Zurich, and I had the pleasure to be talking with Paul Ramsak, part of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency and co-chair of the GEOTHERMICA initiative. Paul, can you please introduce yourself and what your group does?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so I'm working for the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, which is part of the Dutch government, the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, Climate Policy and Green Growth. But I'm also a co-chair of the GEOTHERMICA initiative, which is basically a cooperation of public authorities of the different member countries that work together on accelerating geothermal, including geothermal storage.
Okay then. Let's go back to the GEOTHERMICA initiative a bit later, but as part of this year's EGC, you held a symposium on underground thermal energy storage. So can you tell us a little bit about this entire research project and why it's important?
Yeah, it's not so much a research project, but it's one of the focus areas GEOTHERMICA is focusing on. So we had organized this year a symposium about underground thermal energy storage or geothermal storage. That was one of the outcomes. People said we should call it geothermal storage, and I think that's very, very relevant remark because it is in the longer run a crucial technology. It's a crucial part of the solution. That's why we had the motto, storage is key, basically. As we are moving towards more and more renewables, we will have intermittency. So what we need to do is to bring the sun and the heat from from summer to winter, and the cold from winter to summer. If we can solve that, then we can have a fully renewable, sustainable solution. And therefore, we need storage. That's one side. So that is about heating storage. But the other thing is also that as many countries are electrifying more and more, we get more and more intermittency. And for instance, in the Netherlands, we're already facing huge grid issues. The electric grid is overcrowded. And we will have to build, huge amounts of new grid in the years to come, enormous investments. So everything we do on the heating side can relieve the pressure on the grid. And again, solutions like thermal energy storage would be ideal here because you can transfer part of the electricity and store it for later in the underground.
Okay then, I understand that there are several models for underground thermal storage. Can you tell us briefly about, maybe not all of them, but maybe just a brief summary of what are these kinds of models and what sorts of settings or markets are they appropriate for?
Yeah, I will not go into all details, but people can have a look at the presentations from the workshop and the previous workshops that will be all hosted online on the GEOTHERMICA website, geothermica.eu. But basically, the story is, whatever you're underground, there is a kind of thermal storage solution in the underground. The huge advantage of the underground is that you can go large scale. Large scale makes it affordable. You would need like 200, 300 Olympic swimming pools to store the amount of heat that you can store in an underground aquifer, like we do in the Netherlands. So that is one possibility. But if you don't have aquifers that would be suitable, you can go for borehole thermal energy storage. But we've seen also examples, for instance, from mine water storage, like they do in the Netherlands, in the south, in old coal mining areas, and also Germany is moving in that direction. And we heard also about cavern storage, for instance, which they are now deploying in Finland. And in Vienna, for instance, they're working on a pit, deep underground kind of reservoir that will be connected to the district heating system of Vienna.
I think a key message to pick up from that answer is that this is a system that already works.
Yes, what we're trying to do, as you said, research project, not so much research project. What we try to show is, we had a twofold discussion, what policies are needed, what strategies are needed, but also it is already there. It's already realized in many cases, or people are working on it. So you can do it. We try to show the projects, and we try to get these to communicate. And in parallel, we discuss what kind of policies would be needed, or what kind of strategies would be needed to propel it even faster.
Okay, then now let's go back to the role of GEOTHERMICA for this whole initiative with thermal energy storage. So what is the importance of involving the public authorities?
I think, at the end of the day, it is crucial that you have the support of, let's say, the countries from public side, because they direct very much in what way the energy system is evolving. So it's very strong, and we noticed throughout this cooperation that it's enormously helpful to have that exchange, but also develop joint visions. So what we mainly try to do is see what topics are relevant back home, and if there's common ground between several countries, we try to make a focus area and work together on such a topic. One of the topics is this thermal storage, very important one that we have been working on now for the last 3 years. We had 4 events, this one in Zurich being the last one in a row, and we have seen the community growing very much. So there was a plenary session here, and the room was too small. So that was a good sign, I think. And the other good sign is that we see more and more concrete projects being realized. And we had projects, from Norway, Finland, all the way to basically Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, etc. So it's a wide geographical spread, but also the community is growing, and it's being done real life.
Yeah, and as you said, and this has been my experience as well, there is a very healthy level of interest in thermal energy storage from this event alone.
Yep.
And so I want to ask you something that's a bit more forward-looking. How do you think will this initiative grow in the future? What are your future plans for it to expand, or how would you like to translate it into more concrete projects in more regions?
Yeah, I mean, we see our role as GEOTHERMICA basically also to push forward. Like I said at the beginning, to accelerate geothermal energy, geothermal storage possibilities of the underground. And so we try to focus our action where it's needed. So this is one of the topics definitely that we have been pushing for over the last years. But we also cooperate on how do you make it happen in cities and regions. We also exchange on policy instruments from different countries. On risk mitigation schemes. How do you do it in your country? How should we do it? Just to make it happen, to make this transition happen. So we're flexible in that respect. So on UTES, we might plan something as well at a future event, for instance, at the World Geothermal Congress. Right. If the market takes it on, then we're happy. Then, we can step back. But I think in the meanwhile, if we can help a little bit to accelerate it from the public side, it could be of help.
Maybe one last question, though. Has there been interest in this kind of system outside of Europe?
Yeah, it's very interesting. We were discussing just the other day, and we did this series of workshop, I should mention, together with IEA Geothermal, which is a global organization, although GEOTHERMICA also has the US involved. But we will most probably be planning a UTES symposium in conjunction with the World Geothermal Congress next year in Calgary. So yeah, I have the impression that definitely from out of Asia, for instance, but also from the Americas, there is interest. But next year, we hope to see, and hope also to invite initiatives from outside Europe. And that would be really good to see. I do think there is a huge potential. It's not only about heating, it's also about cooling, of course. And storage is key. That is basically what we concluded. That's why you had the motto. And I think, looking forward to see that also happening outside Europe.
Okay, yeah, very very much looking forward to more deployment of UTES. I think that it's something that is very important, but it's not given as much emphasis as other types of geothermal plays.
No, correct. And one of the remarks that came up last Monday, basically during the symposium, is that one person said maybe we should stop calling it A-test, B-test, C-test, because the technical people will know. But the general public will be confused. So rather call it geothermal storage, and I think it's a very good proposal because this is it. You're storing in the underground and using the capacity of the earth under our feet to store the heat from summer to winter and vice versa.
That is true, and also we already have too many acronyms in this industry.
I fully agree. So let's keep it simple.
Okay, then. So we're looking forward to more projects, more initiatives from the geothermal storage group. And thank you, Paul, for that.
Yeah, thank you very much for the interview. And as I said, check out the website for future events, but also for all the material from previous events.
Okay, thank you.